You're listening to SM Media, the home of exclusive West of Scotland Football League content. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media West of Scotland Football Show. I'm Scotland Pike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. We're back after a wee week's break. We took a wee week's break last week just due to some kind of issues off the field, but there's obviously a lot to get through in this week's show. If you want to see what we did last week, we did a Junior Cup review on the website and a West of Scotland roundup. There was also on the WordPress website, so I'll put a wee link to that in the description if you haven't checked that out already. But we're back to doing the podcast, and it's an absolute pleasure to be joined by former Ashfield manager. Thanks for coming on, Paul Maxwell. Paul, it's a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
No, you're welcome. Good to be here, Scott.
It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, you've been out the management since the summer. How's it been? How are you finding it? Is it weird, obviously, but just watching, reviewing a weekend of football without having a total investment from a manager's point of view?
I think, this is my first break away from football altogether. If I'm being realistic, probably since I was 4 years old, because that's when I started kicking a ball, and so it's been an interesting time. I think the pandemic, when everybody stopped, I was in the same boat, as everybody else, but seeing games every weekend, and still kind of overseeing some of the actual stuff. I'm missing it big time, but listen, it's how important it is with spending some time with family, and I'm taking advantage of that. So
brilliant. That's absolutely delighted to hear that. We'll get into talking about some league action. Obviously, it's been a busy weekend. We did also have some cup action as well. We'll maybe get into that later on, because there's a full kind of cup list coming out this weekend as well. So we'll maybe get into that maybe later on in the show. But we'll start in the Premier Division. I'll just run through the results. Auchinleck 3, Glenafton 1, Petershill 1, Darvel 2, Beath 2, Clydebank 0, Hurlford 0, Cambuslang 1, Pollock 0, Irvine Meadow 2, Kirkintilloch Rob Roy 0, Offaly 2, and Largs 1, Troon 0. We'll start at Beechwood. I'll get your thoughts on this. Auchinleck came from behind to beat Glenafton 3-1. Continued their decent run. Obviously, the win last week against Darvel in the Cup, I think, it's just built a massive bit of confidence on them. They went 1-0 down, though. Shaw Kerr scored an early goal for Glenafton, but Auchinleck in the second half, they brought it back. A massive 3-1 result. Keir Sampson, a lovely goal from Mick Wardrobe, if you've seen that. And obviously Shankers scored late on to make it 3-1, and a big result for Auchinleck. Paul, we spoke about Auchinleck a few weeks ago, that maybe have they got to a stage where the kind of squad is maybe needing a wee bit of a refresh, and are they able to compete with the top teams in this league? But I think we've saw in the last 2 weeks that the Auchinleck do what Auchinleck do. They dig it out, they get results, and when you least expect them to, they dig it out, and they're now in a really much better position than they were just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think probably the Scottish Cup win 3-4 weeks ago, Scottish Junior Cup win 3-4 weeks ago in penalties against Bo'ness, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Bo'ness United, yeah.
I think that's been a wee bit of turning a corner for them. But I think you and I have been in the game long enough to be very naive to write to Albert Arth at this stage, and it's been I kind of thought they would win the game, but I knew it would be a tough game for them, and that's massive, by the way. Beating Glenafton at home is a massive result for them, because it just carries the momentum they've got. Yeah,
obviously with Auchinleck, we know what they do, and we know if they get a wee run going, they could be right back up there as well. They're only, it's crazy how this league is, but they're only 5 points with Darvel, and it's this wee thing, all you need is 2 wins and you could be right back up there. And we'll talk about another couple of teams who are in a really good run as well, who have climbed up the table. This Auchinleck team are filled with guys who know how to win at this level. And they do it week in and week out. But I think as well, as you say, going 1-0 down in the league where, maybe a defeat with maybe a knocked that confidence back, but they dug it out, they got the goals. I think a massive goal for Mick Wardrobe, if you've seen that, a brilliant finish. Getting these guys some goals as well. Keir Sampson, how many times does he do it? Shankers as well. Great to see him in the score sheet. Auchinleck, very positive. I now worry about Glenafton, and I'll explain why, because they are now in a 5-match winless run in the league. there's a lot of, obviously Ryan Stevenson is now on the playing side. He's still obviously the manager, but he's now in the last couple of games put his boots back on. And we know about Ryan Stevenson when he was on his day, brilliant player. But what does that say about Glenafton now when the manager's now feeling he needs to go on and put the boots on?
Yep, and I've done that a couple of times, trust me. And it's no, sometimes it works for you, but you still go home and you kind of reflect and say, if you know you're 30 odd years of age, retired, and you're having to put the boots on to maybe pull the team out of hole, and then there's something wrong there. And I think Ryan's got bags of quality and bags of experience, and that he can get away with that. But I watched Glenafton in the first league game against Arthurlie. I don't think Arthurlie done themselves justice that day, but I thought Glenafton were a strong side. You know, they got a big Petty at the back, and they were kind of strong in the wing areas, full of energy. And for me, Big Shug Kerr was a standout, and it's no surprise that he's probably the main man now. And it's a worry. I think he didn't play the Pollock game with injury, and Pollock beat them, and I think that's the worry. If you've not got that vocal point up there, then they will struggle, and I think that's why Ryan's been kind of putting his boots back on. But listen, I tipped Glenafton actually to do well at the start of the season. I think they'll come good. I think there's a bit of experience here, and I think Ryan's got a lot of contacts as well if he needs to bring in a bit of fresh blood.
Yeah, I think I worry about them in the landscape that obviously they're in a wee bit of a winless run, and when you've got the likes of Arthurlie and are kind of picking up as well. Arthurlie won the last three. Cambuslang a massive win. We'll touch on in a couple of minutes, but you don't want to get in a rock too often because you're in there. I mean, Cambuslang are only two behind. The level with Arthurlie, a point kind of lags are there as well. You want to be picking up results, and I think tomorrow night's massive as well. We'll touch on that. Tomorrow night's a massive game for them because they host Hurlford as well. Just a win in the board, I think, would be massive for Glenafton. But a team who did have to dig deep, Darvel, they obviously kept their unbeaten run going in the league. A 2-1 victory away to Petershill. Petershill took the lead early, but John Kilpatrick and an Ian McShane free kick gave Darvel the 3 points. I listened to Mick's interview before we come on here, and I don't think it was the best performance, but at the end of the day, no every game's going to be a 4-5-0. You need to go to places like Petershill where it's no easy, and you need to dig deep, and Darvel did it as well, to be fair to them.
Right, and Peasy are fighting for their life right now, just because of a tough few weeks. You mentioned Wally obviously leaving, and then Big Ian's went in there to kind of steady the ship in there. And I remember I mentioned this in another show that talking to Big Terry Hewitt, I think it was a couple of days after Wally left, that Big Ian Curry will go in there and they'll just make them organised, and they'll make them hard to beat, and that's what probably Darvel have came up against. And from what I'm hearing, and I think I seen one of the goals, it was 2 outstanding goals that Darvel had to score, so but that's a sign of quality they've got, you know what I mean? And Mick will be buzzing with it, because if they've not performed well and they're coming away with 2-1 away because Petersill's always a hard place to go, then he'll be happy with it.
Aye, and it's that thing as well, as you say, because I think a lot of people would have Darvel winning that game comfortably, but it doesn't always work like that. You know that yourself. It's Petershill, as you say, they'll be a lot more organised now. They'll be when you're playing. I mean, we see it in the kind of high level, like Livingston, for example. Livingston go to Ibrox, Celtic Park. They're very well organised. They're very hard to break down, and teams like Darvel will struggle with that. But it's getting the jobs done. It's sometimes you need a bit of quality, and again, they've got the players to do it. Ian McShane, massive asset in that regard to score there. Big result for Darvel, obviously puts them 2 points clear at the top of the league. A team that are now joint second are Beith, a massive 2-0 home victory over Clydebank. The Beith they've kind of went under the radar, I feel, because they've been really, really impressive at the start of the season with some big results against likes of Port. I think they beat Pollock away and things like that. 2-0 at home to Clydebank. Clydebank, again, probably they struggled at the start of the season. They went on a really good run, and then the last couple of weeks have kind of went down a wee bit again. But Josh Fowler, I don't know if you've seen the goal. Carlo Monti, it's one of the best passes you'll see all weekend. The second goal, Carlo Monti plays into Josh Fowler, who's a really underrated player as well at this level, and makes it 2-0 to Beith. Paul Fry's got the first one. And Beith, I mean, they've kind of not been spoke about in the kind of same terms as the likes of Darvel and kind of Cumnock so far this season, but Straney's done a really good job in there so far.
Right, and that doesn't surprise me. I've been actually chatting to Straney a lot over the past few weeks, just how he's getting on, and it doesn't surprise me that they're now starting to gel in with some results and big results and performances. And it's probably got a wee bit of transition with him taking the job. But you mentioned there, I think the Calamonte, that's been a massive boost for them.
Absolutely.
Signing him, because you have that quality. I've seen the goal. The goal was different class, not just the pass, but the finish with Josh.
Finish is really good.
I think what you see with Josh as well is his work rate is incredible. And I think that kind of breeds confidence into the rest of the squad when you've got willing strikers and wide men and front men that are just going to be workhorses, and then you've got the quality side of Carlo. Right, Carlo does what he wants in a football park, and that goal was evident.
Aye, brilliant result for Bees. What do you think of Clydebank? Obviously, they're still in a really good position in the league. They're only 4 points behind Darvel in the league, and I think it's unfair to write anybody off in this league so far. But Clydebank, they had a really, really good run the past few weeks, but now it's kind of 2 defeats in a row in the league, and it's Gordon will want to get a result as quickly as possible just to get them back to winning ways, because when you're on that run and then you have a couple of bumps, it's difficult to get out of it.
Yeah, and I think they were. I heard Bees were deserved winners on Saturday, but at the same time, Jamie Darroch scored a perfectly good goal in my opinion for what I've seen.
Aye.
I don't know. I've only seen a clip of it. It looks like a good header. There might have been a foul in between. I'm not too sure, and I think the Moff was a wee bit of grief for that. But end of the day, it's just cutthroat at this at that level, and he'll be disappointed. You know, two losses in a row and can sometimes put you in a wee doldrum, and a changing room. But I don't think it'll be the case with Moff and his backroom staff. They'll try and get back to winning ways as quickly as possible. I think they're in the cup the next couple of weeks, so it might help.
Yeah, I think that'll maybe be a wee blessing as well. Cambuslang, a massive 1-0 victory away to Hurlford as well. Grant Brennan with a goal. When obviously Cambuslang, we spoke about it a lot in the past few weeks. It's when you lose players like Scott Williamson and John Gemmell, it's really hard to replace those goals that they were scoring for fun last season. But when you're in this top division, you need to go to places like Hurlford. Any result's a brilliant result, and what a massive 3 points that is for Cambuslang.
Hurlford are a wee bit unpredictable, don't they? Because they've still got top quality, experienced players there. I think I mentioned them a couple of weeks ago, and Big Robbo, Taz, and Mackenzie. They've still got that quality there. They've still got a very good manager. And as I said, a bit eachy peachy. So Cambuslang would have probably looked at that and said, "Listen, they're up and down. Maybe this is their down day, and we get a goal, we defend for our lives." And I think I've not seen the game, I've not heard about the game, but I'm going to anticipate that's what's probably happened. That's a massive 3 points. And good on them, because it might hopefully maybe get someone a wee run.
Yeah, absolutely. Next game we'll talk about Pollock now, Irvine Meadow 2. Irvine Meadow, since George has been in, he's got them going 3 wins in a row in the league now. They're now sitting to 13 points for 7 games. Callum Graham with the first goal, and then probably predictable, Brian Wharton went to his old side, went to Newlands Field and scored against his old side. Irvine Meadow, I think George has done he's been in there, and I think he's got a side who are maybe underperforming, and he's brought in a couple of players just to kind of steady things up. He's brought in Louis Kerr, Sam McCoy went back as well.
Oh yeah.
And has turned it round in the space of a few weeks, and now from what looked a really bad position maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, they're now sitting really well.
Aye, it's probably that freshness in it. When a new manager comes in, you want to get off to a good start and to impress, and that's certainly been the case. But it doesn't surprise me at the same time. I think highly of George. I think he's a motivator, and that's what he's probably getting for. Well, not just him and his background staff, because I know George is going through a bit of surgery now, so it was his assistant that took her, and that's probably the result of the day for me in that league. And that's not to take anything away from Irvine Meadow. They're not capable of doing that, but I think they had a game plan allow Paul the ball and just maybe hit them on the break when you've got legs at Big Cal up top, and the other players that they've got, then they're more than capable of doing a bit of damage, and that was very much a case.
Yeah, big 3 points for Irvine Meadow.
Aye, but a sore one though, because it's 2 ex-Lock players right enough.
Aye, it will be. But I don't think, obviously we'll touch on maybe later on, but Murdo will be wanting to go to Cumnock on Wednesday night and want to pick up a big 3 points. That's a massive game at the top of the table. There's only a point between them. That could be probably the game of the night. I think I might go to that. I'm finished work at 8, but I might go and catch the last hour of that. But that could be very interesting. Next result, Atherley did the double in Rob Roy. They beat them obviously last week in the the Junior Cup. They then beat them in the league 2-0. Gary Carroll and Dale Simeon, again, last season, I don't know how many times I was writing that they were scoring goals every game. And we spoke about Arthur Lane. I said this when Craig was on as well. Like, when you're going for that step up, when you're dominating the league like they did last season and being unbeaten, it's that step up. Do they do it well enough? And it's been a massive couple of weeks, because they're now three wins in a row, and they're beginning to have some good form.
Aye, and as I said earlier, I went and watched Glenafton Athley in the first league game, and I was just texting Palmer after it, and I said, I think he's done yourselves injustice, because it looked like the last 20 minutes of that game, that's when they started to play, and it was almost like too little too late, and they've got bags of talent there, really, and you've just mentioned Turo and Carroll and Simeon, and I know they beat Rob Roy, I think, was it 2 or 3-0 last week.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Maxie's done, probably punched above his weight and went above and beyond it with Rob Roy this season and done fantastic. But at the same time, it doesn't really surprise me that Arthur went there and won again, because they're on a bit of form, as you said, Scott.
And it's that unpredictable with this league as well. Like Rob Roy, they've been probably the story of the season so far with how well they've done. They're still sitting fourth. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like it's this phase.
Maxie won't be too disheartened with
that.
He'll be disappointed, but he'll look back and he'll reflect, and he'll be like, "Listen, we've had a right good start here, considering 2 bad results. Out of the cup, and obviously getting beaten in the league with the same team. They'll refocus on the next game."
Yeah, absolutely. Final result in the Premier Division: a last-minute goal from McGoldrick gave Lags a massive 3 points and a 1-0 win at home to Troon. Lags are probably a team similar to Canvas Lang. Replacing the goals has been difficult, but again, just it doesn't matter how you win, just getting the points, and it doesn't matter how late in the game, the 3 points is all that matters, and that'll be what Stuart will be saying.
Aye, and for me, it's probably just after the Meda result, probably the other result for me that was really massive, because I think Troon were going a good bit of run there, and looked really strong this season, and to keep a clean sheet against them and win 1-0 in the last minute, that's a sweetener for them. Good result for Arnie.
Absolutely massive result for Lags as well. We'll move into the first division, the league that every week I think we talk about new league leaders. We have another. If somebody can write in the comments just how many times I've said we have new league leaders in the first division, I would quite like to know, because it feels as if it changes every week. The new league leaders are Gartcairn, a massive 8-0 home victory over Rossvale. Gartcairn, obviously, they've been really impressive the past few weeks. They've won the last 4. Ben Harwood with 4 goals as well. Rossvale are really struggling. We'll maybe get into that in a second. But Gartcairn, they've been really good, solid so far this season.
Aye, they'll be right up there. They'll be really strong, and I think it wouldn't surprise me if they're in the top 3 or top 2. I fancy them. I know they drummed out a heavy one on Saturday, but they'll be up there. And it's a shame seeing where Kevin's went in there at Rossvale and really
I feel so bad for it. I feel so sorry for him.
And he's got a real tough job. He's took obviously a couple of ex-Ashfield players there who've, I think, have added a bit of quality there, but that's a sore one for them. Probably expected to get beat, let's be honest, because of the golfing now between both. But in that manner, that's a hard one to pick up for him. So he's got a tough job this week to try and pick his players up.
Yeah, absolutely. Massive result for Gartcairn, though, again, for Ben Harwood getting 4 goals. It just shows you they're on a good run and they're sitting top of the league, and that's what this league is all about. It's you can get four wins in a row, you're likely going to be sitting in the top 2 or 3. So massive credit to Gartcairn. Next result I want to talk about. This was a surprise, maybe not necessarily like St Cadoc's going to St Roch's and winning, but 5-0 away from home. St Roch's, I've been really impressed with the way they've started as well. We know the quality St Cadoc's have. Muir with a double. That's a massive 3 points for St Cadoc's as well. Just going there and being dominant like that, it'll put them in good stead. And again, they've only lost 1 game, and they've got 2 points to make up, and the likes of Kilburney and Blantyre kind of sitting above them, but they're in a really, really strong position.
As I said, they'll be up there. But by I think John Doyle, has done a fantastic job since he went in there last season, and I think he's just added to that as well with a couple of key players. But Davey will be disappointed with not only the result but the scoreline, and I think just seeing some of the Twitter shout outs, it was through a lot of mistakes. Maybe self-inflicted there, so which is uncharacteristic for the quality of player that he's got there. So
yeah.
once it's park it, move on.
I think it's one of those that you just put in the back burner and forget about, because it's no. I really was surprised when I saw that. Not because, as we say, like St Cadoc's going there and winning. I think this league, anybody can beat anybody, but it's
Yep.
5-0 and how organised St Roch's have been. And Davey, I've spoke to Davey a couple of times in the past couple of weeks. He's one thing he's been big on is how organised they are.
Yep.
And that's just it. It's a strange one that I didn't see coming. But Blantyre, they now sit a point behind Kilburnie in second. Massive 5-2 victory at home to Drumchapel. Obviously, ends Drumchapel's 4-match winning run in the league. They've been on a really good run, Drumchapel, as of late. Obviously, getting through to the third round of the Scottish Cup, but that'll be a sore one for Drumchapel and Blantyre as well. They've kind of been under the radar also. Like, we thought at the start of the season they'd be a lot better than they showed in the Premier last season, but that they've actually done quite well when you actually look at their run.
I think Blantyre were actually maybe Ichi Peachy as well up to that lead up to that game. I think they did lost to Kilburnie the week
And they'd
before.
lost their last 3 games.
Last 3 games, and the Drum were, I think, they get beat off Whitless in the cup right enough. But prior to that, they were on a 10 games unbeaten.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a wee cup hangover they've got. But anybody that knows what Gibby's done at Blantyre, that's a tough place to go. And again, it's not like a wow, that's just a shock result or anything. But again, it's a scoreline in it. It's a 5-2 scoreline against a quality side that the Drum have got. So Gibby will be happy with that. Hope he won't be, of course. And yeah, as you said, it's just cutthroat now with that league. So
it's just this league. Anybody can beat anybody, and it's the next result we'll touch on as well. A team that have really picked up in the past few weeks. Bonnet 3-2 win over Whitlets. I mean,
yeah.
From a couple of weeks ago, I think Bonnet were sitting in level with Rossfield. They're now 6 points clear of Whitlets, and they've had 3 wins in the last 5 games. I mean, Ross, I felt a lot for Ross getting in there, because I think with Bonnet, and it's because they've came from the south, you don't know what level they're at in this kind of west setup, but getting results like that, it's massive for a team like that.
Big time, and I'm pleased for Ross, because he's somebody I don't know reasonably well, but I know quite well the last couple of seasons when he was been at Maryhill, and he was, he's got good pedigree, and a good coach in terms of what he can bring to the table at Bonnyton, and that's a great result, especially because Whitlets, as we mentioned, had beat the Drum the week before.
Aye.
So you're expecting a tough game, and it also was a tough game, but he grinded out 3-2, fantastic.
Massive result. Next result, Thornleywood beating Kilburnie. Obviously, Kilburnie now no longer at the top of the league. A massive 3 points for Thornleywood as well. Thornleywood 4 wins out of the last 5 games in the league, and they're sitting in a really good place. Ali Small with another goal. Many times have we said that Ali Small can score. He scores penalties, he scores all types of goals, but he's a massive player for a team like Thornleywood. McClare and Campbell with other goals for Thornleywood. Big 3 points for them again. When you beat the league leaders and knock them off top spot, it's something to get your confidence going.
Yeah, as much as Tommy will be, gutted that he's not built on for the Vix result, going to Thornleywood, and I know this too well, that we played Thornleywood a couple of times last season, and it doesn't surprise me that Nizzy and Olsey in there have got a good squad, but it did surprise me a wee bit of how good they were last season, and I was mega impressed. You mentioned about the big striker, Small. They've done brilliant to keep that lad, and they're built on it. It's a great result, but no surprise. I think Thornleywood are a very, very strong team. Yeah, and they've built that. He's built a squad there, Nizzy. He's built a squad there the last 2-3 seasons, and there've been a few mainstays there. So
yeah, they're rock solid as well, and they're a really good side. Shotts are another team though that are picking up as well. A big third win in a row. I 1-1 away to Johnson Borough. Craig Crawford with a goal. Shotts have went under the radar a wee bit as well, because it was difficult to say where they were maybe this time kind of a couple of weeks ago. But they're 3 wins in a row, and now they're sitting in a good position in the league.
Aye, my ex-teammate with Ali Martin, he's sitting strolling it in the middle of the park, and I think he's 2 year older than me, and put me to shame. Big John he'll be buzzing with a result there, because that's not an easy place to go, especially in the recent seasons. Again, I've played against Johnson Borough a few times over the past 3-4 seasons, and Jamie's again built a really, really strong squad over that time, and got a couple of promotions, and just go there and get a clean sheet and get a result.
Massive.
What more can you ask for?
Yeah, big 3 points, and it's something to build on as well, because they're now on that run.
Yep.
They say another 3 points could take them a lot higher up the league, so it's a big result for sure. It's Rutherglen 1, Cumbernauld 1. Maybe a result I don't think anybody's surprised by. I think it was probably, by all reports, just reading through kind of Twitter and speaking to a couple of people at the game, probably a fair result in the end.
Yeah, I read the wee spiel that Peter puts in the paper as well, and by all accounts, Tony, Cumbernauld gaffer, he's saying it was a terrible game. So it is what it is. You get a point, they move on. As you said, it's probably something where they were going to take points off each other. So
yeah, and I think it's that thing as well. It's you're maybe gutted you've not picked up the 3 points, but you're secretly quite delighted you've not lost them.
exactly,
and you've got something out of the game. So it's
two strong sides, two
strong sides, and very even sides as well. They've obviously came down for the Premier, and they're both focusing being back up. And I think there's when you look at that league, and I know we joke about this league being really unpredictable, and it is, but you've got 7 or 8 teams in that league who at the start of the season we thought were much of a muchness in terms of they were really hard to split. And I think like Rutherglen, Cumbernauld, and kind of like Johnson as well, they're all very even. Like if you said who'll finish above who, you would really struggle to rank them just because of how kind of solid they are. So exactly. I think that's the thing with this league as well. And I think you'll see some crazy results, but you'll also see some really tight games, and that's the beauty of this league for me this season.
Yep, exciting league. Looking forward towards the end of the season to see how it pans out.
Yeah, the only unbeaten team in the second division's run came to an end as Renfrew were beaten 3-2 away to Glasgow Perthshire. I want to give a shout out to Billy Adams, because Glasgow Perthshire, I did not have them doing well this season at all. I thought it was going to be a real tough ask for them to stay in this league, but what a couple of weeks that Billy's had them on, and beating the league leaders and ending their unbeaten run in the league. A massive 3 points there, and Davy Kirkwood getting another goal as well, scored a hat-trick last week. Yep. It just shows you there's a lot of teams in this setup that can, when they get a run going, they can be really, really good, and there's some phenomenal managers out there, and I think Billy's one of them.
Yeah, going back to talking about Talbot, it's naive to write them off. It's the same with the Shire, weirdly enough, because Billy Adams, we call him old man, right? He's just been he's part of the mantelpiece there now, and it's his club, and he would drag boys off a street in Possil to get them to play if he had injuries or folk were struggling. I think a big thing, you mentioned Big Kirky. I'm surprised the big donut hasn't put a Facebook post with scoring again, because that's all I seen last week. But bringing him back in, because I don't think he was there at the start of the season, and I might be wrong in that, but bringing him back in and getting that bit of experience, both forward line and at the back, because he can play both sides, has been huge for them. And it's good to see the big man still. Again, it's putting me to shame, because I think he's a year or two older than me, so it's good to see him still scoring the biggie. Yeah,
absolutely. But it obviously meant your old club Ashfield, they've clawed the gap back in Renfrew to a point with a 3-0 win over Maryhill. Black, Sheridan and Barr with the goals. Ashfield, again, a team that's just went under the radar and kept going, because obviously a really bad defeat in the first game of the season, but they've kicked on massively from that and not lost a league game since.
Yeah, and touch wood for that. And I think people look at it from outside in and see Maryhill sitting, I think, bottom of the league, or sitting bottom of the league, and Ashfield, I think, was second or third as top. That should be an easy 3 points. It's far from it. Maryhill beating the Rock a few weeks ago in the cup. Mm-hmm. And again, I was talking to Marky, because he stays close to us. That he's confident that they'll climb up that table. So, and it's a derby as well. It's the first derby we've had in a couple of seasons, or 4 or 5 seasons, and I need to pass credit to the management team at Ashfield now. Mick's done a fantastic job there, where he helps his coaching staff, wee brothers, and Ian Gray, and that's been fantastic. And I'm pleased it's a great derby win. I'm also pleased with a clean sheet. Chris Calder saved a penalty in, I think, the last 5 minutes, and the big man will be chuffed for that.
Absolutely, but the second division is another league as well, but it's so close, and again, it just shows that it's a massive swing that means Ashfield are kind of right in the mix, and I don't think a I don't know what you'd have thought at the start of the season, but I think a lot of people thought Renfrew, Craig Mark, Maybole would probably your three teams that would be really hard to split. And obviously we're seeing that now. The three out of the top four as those three teams, but it shows you if Ashfield they've got a run going and they're right in the mix.
Yeah, they'll keep going. There's a lot of games. I think it's like 30 league games you play this season, right? So they're only a third the way through, and I don't think there's any talk about. And I'm not involved in the changing rooms and that, but I'm certainly there and about promotions and winning leagues and that. They know who they're up against, and you mentioned three teams there. And I would even look at the likes of Ardere and Yoker and the Shire. You know that they're going to be really, really tough for us, and I think we've got them coming up in the next few weeks. So. It's just taking as many points as possible and then see where we're at come February, March, and if there's a motivator to go and really do something.
Yeah, absolutely. A big result for fourth as well, a 3-1 win away to Glasgow United. Jay Keenan with a double and McQueen with the third goal for fourth. Again, fourth they've kind of been up and down. Like you look at their kind of record, 5 wins, 2 draws, 4 defeats, but they're right in amongst the likes of kind of Glasgow Perthshire, St Anthony's, Maybole. There's a kind of a bunch gathering in that kind of middle of the pack, and they're all capable of beating each other.
Yeah, again, I think Glasgow United beat had a great result down at Craig Mark. If I'm wrong about week 2, week 3, you're thinking they'll kick on and do well there. So 4th of 9 went there in November and got a fantastic 3 points, and no, they'll be happy with that because we obviously beat 4th last week, and you know they've came back from that defeat and taken a fantastic 3 points. Hard place to go to Shuttleton.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll be Rab will be obviously desperate to get something kind of going quickly because that's. I mean, you just look at the record, 6 losses in a row. It's difficult to get out that rock, as we say, and they'll be just looking to get a win on the board no matter how it comes.
Yep. Hopefully it's no soon because we play them in a couple of weeks.
A big result for Ardere again, a team who were kind of sitting quite low down at a couple of weeks ago, and 2 wins and a draw in the last 3 games, and they're now sitting in 10 points and they're sitting in 11th place. Massive 4-2 result away to Yoker, 4 different goal scorers: Stevenson, Frew, Taylor, and Miller. I felt a lot for Sean because I was when I was seeing the kind of games on Twitter, I think a lot of Ardere games they were unlucky not to get something, but they just weren't getting the breaks. In the last 2 games, they've got victories, and they're now in a far better position than they were a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and they lost probably, in my opinion, their best player.
I was going to touch on that as well.
Big centre half to Gobani, Big Howie, and you know, Yoker, I think, of another side who have been a mainstay for the successful season they had last season. So going to Yoker and winning 4-2, that's a brilliant result. Probably the result of the day there, along with the Shire, if I'm honest.
I think as well, yeah. I think when you look at that result for Ardere, like maybe it's kind of a game between those two that it could go either way. But when you're needing that kind of to get that wee run going and just getting, as I say, they're a position in the league's improved massively in the past 2 weeks, and you go there, it just sets you in good stead for the kind of rest of the kind of next few weeks. Just get a run going, and I think Sean will feel a massive kind of sigh of relief that they're finally getting some wins on the board because it's a really difficult run.
Big time. I think the boy Stevenson, I think he's been something that's been a bit of revelation for him this season.
Yeah,
He's got a lot of goals outside the box and that, so.
Absolutely. And the final result in the second division, Maybole 2, Kilsyth Rangers 2. Kilsyth, obviously, they've had a difficult few weeks, kind of their manager leaving as well, Carlo Grassley taking the job as well. But Maybole, they've been in really good form the past few weeks, and to go there and get something out of the game is always massive.
Well, when Maybole came to us, I think it was the second or third game of the season, I looked at the squad and I went, holy smokes, like I've played against most of them in the Premier League, and you're like, this is Premier League quality. You know, don't get me wrong, a few of them are maybe on a bit age-wise, but they're certainly going to be up there as one of the favourites. And for Kilsyth to go down to Maybole and get a point, because again, they've been itchy-peachy as well this season. I need to stop saying that. It's about 3 times I've said that. No, a good point for Carlo. He'll be happy with it.
Absolutely. Third division, we'll get into that. Probably the result of the weekend across the West, in my opinion. Ardrossan, they've been in such a good winning run. They're still top of the league, to be fair. But Luga, a massive 4-2 away victory over Ardrossan. Ends Ardrossan's winning run. But Luga will look at that. Luga will be delighted with that. Just to go there, to go to a team in terrific form when Luga have been kind of struggling. I know they got a big result last weekend, but to go to the league leaders and pick up a 4-2 win. Mitchell Ewan with a double as well. I don't think it gets any better than that for the management team.
No, it's a brilliant result. And I was talking to Jamie, who's a coach at Ardrossan, and by all accounts, it just looks like they never turned up, and Luger did. And he's like, I think there's a bit of false position there with Luger. In terms of league, he says because they've got a lot of decent players.
They had a really bad run, and I think you're right.
And it's just that run they were in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree, Scott. I think that's been the result of the day for that league especially. And we've got them in the cup next week, so that's also why I was talking to Jamie to get a wee bit of info on them. But I'm here. It's got to be a tough game. So
yeah, absolutely massive. Another kind of massive result in that league as well. Carluke going to Lanark and winning 3-2. I mean, Carluke, what a massive 3 points that's for them. And again, just they were in an okay run. They'd won 2 games in a row, then they lost 3. But to go to Lanark, Cuban, and they will fancy themselves to be challenging for the title, and obviously they're in that mix as well. That's some result for Carluke.
Brilliant result, because I think they had a tough start this season, Carluke, hadn't they? And then they've just picked up results here or there, and going away to Lanark and getting a 3-2 is brilliant for them. Excellent. Lanark will be disappointed though. They'll be really disappointed because I think they were doing well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've kind of they're still in the mix. Obviously, there's a lot of the first 7 in that league are only kind of separated by 6 points, and obviously they've all got to play each other. So it's a massive few weeks ahead, because I think there's a couple of them play against each other in the next couple of weeks. Next result I want to touch on: Larkhall 6, East Kilbride Thistle 1. Larkhall obviously go to within a point of Ardrossan. Taylor Scott with a double, but the thing with Larkhall that always gets me is they always seem to they've got goals spread across the team. It's never like a 6-1 victory. Like there's never a player scoring 4 or scoring. Like there's always a mixture of goal scorers, and I think that shows you a good kind of team spirit and they've all got a desperation to get on the score sheet.
Yep, signing a good team, as you said, Scott. And they're strong at home, Larkhall. And as is taking out at East Kilbride, I think, I don't know if he's still there, but I think that wee honeymoon period that he's had is kind of gone by, because I think he got a couple of results in the first couple of games in charge, and then
Aaron's got a job on a permanent basis, so it's
permanent basis.
It's a difficult one for Aaron, because obviously the thing with East Kilbride is there's a lot of kind of big personalities there. They're all really good players, but it's difficult with your first job in management when you've got all those kind of big characters and getting them all singing off your hymn sheet. It's going to be tough, and again, a result of that is never good for team cohesion.
Exactly. Going to that call, you might expect, if we get beat today, it's not the worst thing because they're going well. But it's a slow scoreline. Yeah,
absolutely. Next result I want to talk about: Vela Clyde, a 5-0 win over Fanart. Vela Clyde, we obviously had Colin on a few weeks ago, and I said to him, like you're going real under the radar here, because they're scoring a lot of goals. I mean, you look at that, they've only lost 9 goals this season. I think they're joint with Irvin Vicks for goals conceded, and they're scoring as well. And goal difference could be massive in this league. And as I say, they're not stopping. They're scoring goals. Paul Donahue, another double.
Good player.
Vela Clyde are a team to take really seriously in this league.
Aye, and I seen them against Ashfield in the cup 2 weeks ago, I think it was. And we beat them by a last minute penalty. And again, it was one of those when I seen the squad turn up, and I'm watching them warm up, and I'm seeing Big McDivitt there, and Big Turner. I've seen they've got bags of experience in there as well. This will be another tough game. The boy Donahue was excellent.
Yeah.
And Fanart are no mugs. They're a strong side, and that's a pasting. You know what I mean? And Vela Clyde will be happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Massive result for them. Irvin Vicks, it was a difficult couple of weeks. Obviously, the situation with Franny was weird. I think there's that Twitter was weird the past couple of weeks, and a guy come up from nowhere and was beginning to interview everybody in the West. I don't know if you've seen that, but it was slightly amusing. Yeah, the guy, I can't even remember his name, but he was saying like he was coming to meet Franny and ask a tell-all interview about why he left. But Irvin Vicks has been a difficult couple of weeks. Obviously, Dougie's away, and I think Dougie's away for an operation or something. I'm wishing him all the best with that. But they got a 3-1 win away to Port Glasgow. Port Glasgow have been a big kind of decent run the past few weeks, and Savarese with a double for Irvin Vicks. It's a massive 3 points, especially just with how kind of weird things have been the past couple of weeks for them.
Stevie will be he'll be really disappointed with that, especially at home. But you mentioned the lad Savarese. I think he was at Bells Hill before.
I think he was, yeah.
Great striker.
Mm-hmm.
And scores a lot of goals. I mean, maybe at Peasy as well, if memory serves me right.
He's been about.
Good striker. So when you go up somebody like that, then you're on a chance of a winner. And that's a fantastic result going down to Port. Because some of the signings Stevie's done there recently with Big Key and what have you. So
And
good on him.
a certain Argyle McCoist obviously completed his
I heard.
permanent signing. That was it's a big signing for them as well. Obviously, he's been doing really well as a trialist. To get him tied up is massive for Stevie. Massive, obviously. And I think with Port Glasgow as well, I think they're maybe in a false position as well because they've had a difficult run. I think there's a lot of teams in that league who are just 2 or 3 wins away for getting a real kind of
Yeah,
a real
I think
fire
he, I
under them.
think he had about 3 or 4 wins in a row, and then he drew down at Villa leaving, and then also they've lost that game. So that's why I think Stevie will be disappointed. He would have
Yeah,
wanted to, and that if you really want to kick on to get to second or third up there, you'd want to get a 6, 7 wins
yeah, absolutely.
under your belt.
Absolutely. Big result for Kello as well. A Greg Richmond last minute goal secured a huge, this will be probably a huge 3-2 home win over Royal Albert. Royal Albert did not make it easy for Kello. And again, Kello will probably look back at this at the end of the season if they do. If they are in the mix for promotion, they'll look at this as a massive 3 points.
Well, I'm gutted for Royal Albert. It's also
Yeah.
my first ever junior team, and I think they were winning 2-0 at one point, and they've kind of threw it away, haven't they, as you said, and then Kello scored in the last minute. Because going down to Kello, we went down there on a Wednesday night last year, Scott, a Wednesday night, so you can imagine my text message to Kenny, a Wednesday night, and we actually won 3-2, and I think we scored in the last 2-3 minutes in that game, and it's a very difficult place to go. So the Albert will be disappointed they've been 2-0 up and I get a chance because I don't think they've won many games this season.
Yeah, I think
and threw it away.
Yeah, it'll be a real sore one as well. Massive win for New Mains as well, a 4-1 win over Saltcoats. Callum Holden with a double. 2 teams that obviously sitting at the bottom of the table. Both sides will be looking at this as 3 points as a must. And New Mains obviously a big result for them, a 4-1 victory, and it takes them. They're still sitting bottom, but obviously just that 3 points and getting into a positive position, obviously because they had the points deducted for the ineligible player thing. It gets
did they?
them. Aye, they were sitting in -2, and now they've won 2 out of the last 3, and they're sitting in 4 points. So they'll be delighted with that. They'll be absolutely thrilled with their performance on Saturday.
I think you're right. It's either back-to-back wins, or as you said, they've
won 2 out of the last 3.
Aye, brilliant. And I think they went behind in that game as well. I think Saltcoats were 1-0 up. And Saltcoats also, I think, were coming back off a good result at home to Lugar, I believe. Might be wrong. So yeah, great result for Newmans. Not only just to go and win, but win comfortably.
Absolutely massive result. Final game in that division, Vale Leaving 1, Girvan 1. 2 sides kind of struggling for form. Vale Leaving are now winless in 6. Girvan, the thing with Girvan is obviously they've had to change their manager and things like that, but they haven't really picked up under Robert, and I kind of feel for him because obviously he's came for the Ayrshire amateur scene and he's went into that job, and I think it's going to take him a bit of time to really get to grips with that division because it's a big division, especially you need to get results quickly to be able to have a chance of this league because there's a lot of teams above them winning well.
I don't know what the expectations will be with Robert taking that job on now, but I certainly think he's going to need a wee bit of time because of where the team were and where the club is sitting, you know what I mean? So, but that will come. Governor a good setup. But I think Vale leaving, they'll be disappointed. Brian will be frustrated because I think although they've no 1 in 6, I think there's a few draws in there. And it's painful when you're having a wee run of draws where you can easily turn any of them into a win. So You'll be frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move into the 4th division. Kilsyth Athletic keep they're now the only unbeaten team in the West of Scotland. A 10 straight win. We obviously spoke to Bailey a few weeks ago, and I was so impressed with them. And again, it's that division's actually a really, really tough division, and to win your first 10 games, it's an unbelievable achievement. And they had to do it. They had to dig deep. They were 3-0 up in Rossvale Academy. Got 2 late goals, and it was tight for Kilsyth, but they got the job done, and they're now in a really good position in that league. They're now 6 points clear of West Park.
Well, I mean that's a good gap between West Park because I really fancy West Park this year. and you've also, I think, Threave and St Peters are probably
Yeah,
two other sides that are going to be really, really strong, and their form's is pretty decent. So to keep grinding out wins is all you can do. And yeah, fair play to Kilsyth. They're a little bit of a utopian story right now.
absolutely. Absolutely. Really good position they're sitting in. Eglinton ended a 4-match losing run, a massive 4-3, a really tight contest, a 4-3 victory over Glenvale. Sean and Liam Davis both getting doubles. Eglinton as well, obviously coming. It's obviously been a difficult start for Eglinton, but that's a massive 3 points, at home. And Glenvale have been struggling there now, and I think they've lost their last 7.
Yep.
But Eglinton that'll be a huge 3 points, and especially fighting hard to get it.
Yeah, and I think they've got a big game this weekend. Eglinton, if correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. I think they've got a big cup game. I can't mind, so it'll set them up for that. Yeah, I'm sure I see might be Clydebank they're playing.
And they were really unlucky last week as well. Like when they lost, I think they lost 5-40 to Thorn.
That's right.
Like they're scoring goals. It's just they're conceding as well. But big 3 points for Eglinton. St Peters, they've obviously kept a really good run going in the past few weeks. A 1-0 win over Campbelltown at home. Thomas Haggerty scoring again. Really good run he's on.
Yep.
St Peters are doing really well actually in that league, and I think a lot of people, we're probably the two of us probably agree on this, that we both fancied Kilsyth, West Park and Threave to be the top 3, but St Peters are in with a chance of really kind of getting in between those 3.
Yep, as I said, grind out results. I think Campbelltown can be a wee bit hot and cold at times as well, and they're now used to the setup. I think their first season was always going to be difficult, but they're now used to the whole setup and schedule that they've got, and obviously a lot of travelling back and forth. But St Peters just grinding out 3 points against them they'll be really, really happy with that and keeping their good form going.
Yeah, absolutely. Eglinton do host Clydebank. That'll be a massive occasion for the club as well. That's what the West can do as well. A team that are in a really good run. The final game we'll talk about in the 4th division, Thorn Athletic, a 2-1 win away to Harmony Row. McDougall and Martin with the goals. Thorn have actually been in a really good run as of late. They've got some good cup wins in there, and they've won the last 4 in the league, and they're now sitting quite well in that league.
Yeah, and I keep mentioning Ashfield, but again, we played them in the cup a few weeks ago, and it will look 2-0 comfortable in the paper, but it was far from it. They were a really good side, very stuffy, and made it very, very difficult for Ashfield that day. So it's no surprise that they're doing well. That's another team, I'd probably put them in there as the top 4, top 5 teams in that league. So big 3 points for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just run through a couple of the results in the West of Scotland Cup. Greenock 0, Benburn 4, Cumnock 4, Dalry 0, Bellshill 1, Kilwinning 7, and Glasgow Uni 1, Neilston 1, and Neilson won that game on penalties. What caught your eye in those 4 games?
I don't think anything's been a surprise there. I think it's a heavy defeat for Bellshill because they had a fantastic result in the Scottish against Maryhill. So hopefully they're not too disheartened with that. But I think the other results are probably expected in that sense. Fair play to Glasgow Uni taking Neilson to penalties because Neilson are a very good side. Yeah,
absolutely. We do have some action during the week in the West of Scotland this weekend. I'll just go through them. Tuesday we've got in the Premier Division, Irvine Meadow play Rob Roy. First Division, Rossvale play Bonneton. We've got a lot of games on Wednesday as well. I'll just go through them here. On the Premier Division, we have Glenafton versus Hurlford. Kilwinning play Auchinleck. Darvel play Largs, and Cumnock play Pollock. First Division, Gartcairn host Blantyre, and Rutherglen play Neilston. We've also got Benburb against Shotts in the First Division. Second Division, Renfrew host Yoker Athletic, and we've got a Third Division game as well. Fenart play Bellshill. What game? Which are you going to take in one of those games during the week?
Well, I might jump down to Meda then, knowing that Rob Roy are going down there. But I think, as you said at the start of the show, it'll be interesting to see how Cumnock and Pollock go. Pollock are looking for a big reaction, fantastic win in the Senior Scottish Cup a couple of weeks ago. That's a little bit of a setback against Meda, so they'll look to bounce back. I think the Blantyre game sounds a tasty one.
A good game actually. Gartcairn against Blantyre as well. Even Rossvale versus Bonnet, and I know it's at the bottom of the league, but that could be big for Rossvale. It could be a massive chance for them to get a victory on the board. But Bonnet as well, they're building in a decent run. there's a lot of good games on there. If you're going to a game, let us know. Send us your photos in. Let us know if you're at a game, because it's a great weekend for it. I think we're going to get the weather. I think it's going to be classic Scottish winter weather of bucketing down, which it has done constantly. But as I say, the West, it's given us some really entertaining action over the past few days, and it's been a pleasure to go through it with you, Paul. Thank you very much for coming on, and best of luck for what you're doing at Ashfield. It's a real pleasure to talk to you about it, and we're wishing you all your best with it.
More than welcome, Scott. Thanks, bud.
Thank you very much. Thank
Cheers.
you very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please follow our social media channels for consistent West of Scotland football content, and also our podcast and YouTube channels. Got a lot of Scottish football stuff going out this week, so stay tuned for that. Thanks very much, everyone. See you soon. Cheers.